Welcome to the show, fam, where there's only one way in and one way out. And of course, that's from the basement to the balcony, your number one source for all things storytelling. All right. Here we feature industry experts who tell us the stories behind their work. For example, I started stealing quarters from my granddaddy's ashtray somewhere around the 7th grade. Right. And then it actually escalated to me stealing money from ATMs several years later. Yep, you heard it, right? But through mental health therapy, I was able to use that same energy to build a very profitable, a very legal and ethical business while still fulfilling that same thrill. You feel me? My name is Kenneth, and my name means handsome, fireborn. I'm the father of 3 humans with my DNA who are becoming more and more self-aware every single day, right? I've been an entrepreneur since 2007, right? And I've been full-time since 2015. But more importantly, I'm a 13-time convicted felon. This show here is for entrepreneurs, influencers, and nonprofit heroes who struggle to find the thrill in your story, which is probably preventing you from maybe reaching your audience wherever they may be. Okay. Remember, everything I do, it can be done in your business or organization to engage with your audience through social media. You can do it yourself, or you can get somebody else to do it, right? You can pay me to do it for you. All right. But let's get to the most important part of the show today. And that's the author, the money and mindset strategist, the entrepreneur's entrepreneur of over the last 20 years who can help you level up through your personal, professional, and even financial development. All right. Of course, y'all, it's Kimberly Winborne. But wait, I ain't done yet, right? Because we can't forget about the nonprofit organization Beauty 180, where she uses this same model to support women. Let me back up. Earlier, I said money strategist, but I failed to mention that she's a certified financial education instructor. OK, and yes, she's all about coffee and collaborations. She co-wrote a whole show about it. She sits on many boards. She's an active community builder. She's a praying CEO. She's a mentor. She's well decorated. She's well educated, and she can never be duplicated. Again, ladies and gentlemen, it's Kimberly Winborne. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Kim Branson. I'm glad to be here.
But listen, when I think of basements and balconies, Kimberly, I think of my childhood, right? I was raised in a 2-story house in Winston-Salem. It had a basement, of course. My parents actually upfitted the basement and put 2 rooms down there after me and my brother outgrew the bunk beds we was, sleeping in a room upstairs. Also, I think about the church that I attended back in 2007 when I came to Durham, and I started my business from the basement of that same church, right? So, question to you. Did you have a basement in the house that you grew up in?
No, I wish.
Why you say you wish?
Because I always wanted one. So we used to go to D.C. a lot. I had family in D.C. And a lot of the houses there, like they would have basements. And I remember my aunt and uncle, they had a basement in their house. And I was 2, 3 years old. Just wanting, the basement was like the hangout. It was like only the grown folks could be in there. And so I would kind of peep around the door. Yeah. So I always wanted a basement, but no, we didn't have one.
Okay. Do you have any horror stories about a basement?
I don't. Maybe that's good.
Right.
I don't have any horror stories. I love a basement. Like, I believe that for me, they represented some level of freedom that you didn't get as a kid, like, because everybody telling you get out, get out, get out. And I was like, no, I want to be in the basement. I want to, I always said when I have my dream house, that's what I want, where people can come and commune. They can, like my uncles and aunts, they would have parties and all of that in the basement. So no horror story for me.
All right, no doubt. All right, so when we think about basement level, when you hear the phrase basement level strengths, what do you think about immediately? What comes to mind?
Basement level strengths. I really think about, even though basements represent positivity for me, for many people, it represents the bottom. And it's sort of like a awakening a strength to come out of that particular situation that may have you down in the basement. So I believe the ability to be able to get out of that situation is a strength. The tenacity, the self awareness, as well as the self motivation to get out of the basement. And while self motivation, it's called self motivation, like you do it yourself. We do get influences from others. So even being able to peer and look, look for the sunlight in the basement. So those are the strengths of a person coming out of the basement. Or if I'm in it, what's next? What's next for me? I'm trying to find my awakening.
Ooh, y'all better watch out. I think it's gonna be a dope conversation. It's already getting heated. All right. So let's move to the balcony. Right, we're gonna take the elevator up to the
Okay.
balcony. What is the
All
last
right.
memory you have of being on a balcony?
The sun. The sun. I remember every experience that I've had where I've enjoyed a balcony has been related to the sun, the feeling of the sun on me, the warmth, even looking at the horizon. So that was my last memory, the sun, feeling the sun, both spiritually, mentally, and physically.
Speaking of the
Hmm.
sun, right? So talk about some of the advantages. Did you have any advantages while you was up on the balcony?
Absolutely. Yeah. The perspective, the view is different from the basement to the balcony, for sure, but the view is extremely different, especially when I talk about the sun cascading on me. That definitely provides a different sort of, and that's why I tell people all the time, like, go outside, get a new perspective, a new lens. We sit in our houses, especially now, most people working from home, and we don't get to feel like the beauty of nature and all of that on us. So for me, the balcony is new perspective, new heights, new opportunity,
Woo!
open air, freedom. Like that's what the balcony represents represents for
Man,
me.
wow. Let's go there. Let's go there. All right, one more question on this lightning round, and we done got heated already. Can there be a balcony on the ground floor?
That's a good one. Can there be a balcony on the ground floor? Absolutely. There can, because it depends on, so this is going to depend on if the ground floor is the only layer, like the only level, because there could be, back to what you're talking about, a basement and the ground floor. When you think about like hotels, or the ground floor is like the service entrance or what have you, and then there's another level. And so if there's a opportunity to step outside of the room, step outside of the space in which you're in, then yeah, there's always a balcony on any floor that you're on.
Cut that and use that as an instant replay. I love that right there. Listen, let's go ahead and get on in the
Yes.
rest of this show because we done already got heated. All right. So check this out. One of the things that I believe that really makes my freaking toes wiggle is seeing someone operate in their passion, right? In the corporate arena, they are known as subject matter experts. But when you coming from the basement to the balcony, fam, we call it secret sauce. You feel me? It's your superpower. It's any kind of proprietary knowledge or expertise that gives you or your organization or a competitive advantage. All right. So, Kimberly, let's talk about your secret sauce, right?
Okay.
Let me tell y'all about Kimberly real quick, y'all. I asked her to sum this all up in a sentence, right? But she kind of gave me a hodgepodge of a gumbo soup with this, right? She
Okay.
said her secret sauce is God, family, entrepreneurship, connection, collaboration, winning, and born to win. Man, let me tell y'all something. That's a whole lot of sauce, right? That's a whole lot of sauce. But what we're gonna do for this moment right here is we're gonna focus on born to win for right now, because I do believe a little bit more of the sauce will unveil itself
Mhm.
throughout this conversation, right? So born to win, what is it, and what does it mean to somebody who don't even know who you are?
Okay, so Born to Win is actually a story behind that, but it's a signature talk that I came up with when I was coming up with like speaking topics and things of that nature. And it was funny because Born to Win is actually all of those things that I said was the secret sauce. It's collaboration, it's God, it's, all of the other things, because it's a mindset. And so Born to Win is a mindset. And it was just a spin on my name, because a lot of times people would mess up Winborn by adding a D, saying Windborn. Sometimes people would pronounce it with the L, like Willborn. And I think it's just association, like what you've seen before. And sometimes people would spell it with a U, like Born Identity, Bourne. And so I started saying, no, it's just like the word born, like if you were born to win, or if you're being birthed to win, born to win. And then one day I just had this Oprah Cosworth aha moment, and it was like, that's it. Because I have been speaking with people about overcoming fear in order to achieve, overcome obstacles, in order to grow in their craft and all of that, and to get beyond themselves and serve and do and be, and all the things that internally we have inside of us, but different things in life have held us back. So that became the thing that I talk about all the time, that we are born to win. And it relates in so many spaces. And so that's the precipice of the story, how it all started from my name.
No doubt,
Kimberly
because that was my
Winborne.
next question, right? Where did it originate? So I'm glad you answered
Yeah.
that. So we really can't say. Well, and also you answered the next one. Who or what is the biggest inspiration that your sauce
Hmm.
was developed? But I wanna maybe try to, let's twist and turn this a little bit, because I don't want to play too much on just where the phrase or the hashtag came from. I want to
Hmm.
dive a little bit deeper into the God family entrepreneurship connection collaboration piece of it. Let's go to connection and collaboration,
Okay.
because I think this is going to be interesting for my viewer. Right? When you think of connection and collaboration, why is this a part of your life? Why?
Hmm.
Where did connection and collaboration? Of course, we got the show Coffee and Collaborations, but
Hmm.
where did connection and collaboration come from for
Hmm.
you?
So connection is something that was innate in me. I was actually born to connect. We all were. And some of us have it on a deeper level. And so my mom, I went on this journey maybe like 5 years ago. I had read this book about what your gifts are not your purpose or something. It was something like that, right? And I was like, oh, that's a powerful name. Oh, it's this book about, very slim book, and you have to do this exercise where you sort of go all the way back to develop to who how you develop into who you are. And so personal development is big for me, right? So you go back and you begin to ask people, and you have these exercises that you have to do. And so one of the exercises is to go like to your mom, your dad, somebody, and ask them to explain to you who you were as a kid. And so one of the things that I did was I asked my mom, who was I as a kid. And she said she reminded me of stories where I was in the grocery store, for instance, and somebody didn't speak to me or whatever. So I was like, hey, hey, hey. And so she started reminding me of all of these stories that she had told me before, but I'd sort of forgotten, where I needed to connect, where connection was like just a part of who I was. And so that is who I am innately. And then collaboration, when I began to understand that together we can grow, we can do more, especially in entrepreneurship. When I started my networking group, the first one, Visionary Networking Circle, and I would see people prior to that in business struggling because they were trying to do it on their own. And I started looking at other communities, like, Jewish and Indian and Asian and so forth, and just really watching them and how they work together, Latino, Hispanic, right? How they work together in order to build. And then started studying the Bible and how it talked about collaboration. And that's actually how God created us, to be aware of our individual selves as members, but how together collectively we work and can build. And so just looking at those things, collaboration was essential. Like it was just it became like a humongous part of what I talk about and what I do, because I think we can win together. Like if we're born to win separately and individually, my goodness, what can we do together? So those two, that's why connection and collaboration.
A big shout out to mom right, for being able to help you with the connections piece. One of the
Yeah.
things you said that I'm definitely going to have to go back and cut and use it again is your mom reminded you of all of these what? You remember?
Connections, all of the
Nope.
pieces.
You said a
That's what
word that I want you to say again. You said my mom reminded me of all these
I don't know, pieces,
stories.
puzzles. Oh, stories. Yes, yes, stories.
Yes. Soon as I
My
heard
mom
it,
has a lot of stories.
right. As soon as I heard it, it was like, oh my God, I got to use it, right? Because
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that a little bit further in a conversation as to how you use stories every day. And you done already really told us how, you know what I'm saying, mom really helped you out to use those stories from the past to make you who you are today. And shout out to, listen, for the entrepreneurs who were struggling back in the day, who you were able to see, you know, something in them, see them struggling, and you was able to glean from other communities like, wait a minute, this is
Mm-hmm.
all they did. You know, they're not any better than we are. Like
Mm-hmm.
we can really do more when we have more information or knowledge, and then we can become more powerful with that. So definitely thank you for sharing that. Let me see if I want to go back to anything else. We talked about entrepreneurship. Well, not really. We talked about connection and collaboration, but entrepreneurship for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about entrepreneurship for you. Where did it start?
Mm-hmm.
What is your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah. And to what you just said about watching other communities, I just really feel like I'm a proud Black woman. And there's a lot of disparities among the Black race. And, a lot of people try to deny that. But it's so true just how deep, how far our struggle goes. And then I don't focus on the struggle. But in order to grow in any space, we got to be aware of where you are, right? And so when you have a people who have been persecuted, oppressed for generations, that is a stain that can stay upon them. And so a lot of times people are dealing with generational trauma that they're not even aware of, and they can't get beyond that to grow, to be able to say, hey, I can do this business. Hey, I can flourish here. So I found myself in my entrepreneurial journey, consulting and coaching folks to believe that they are dynamic, they are powerful, they can do it, they can have their business. So I wanted to share that because that is so very true about Black people. We've tried. We had the Tuskegee scenario where, we so many scenarios of persecution, oppression. You try to get ahead and you get knocked back down, right? And so, but we didn't give up, and we don't give up. And so that's what I want to inspire people every day. Don't give up. We can make it. We can do it. Okay, so my entrepreneurial journey began. I would say I really started thinking about entrepreneurship at about the age of 8 years old, because that's when I really started reflecting on who I was, the whole why me, who I could be. I probably started having my whole sort of social justice blueprint in life, where I began to learn more about my story and, my dad and my mom and just everything, and saying, you know what, if I could do something different, then I would. And I watched my grandparents, who were both entrepreneurs. My granddad had a landscaping business, and my grandmother was a seamstress. And I remember just watching them make it. Like, I didn't even know it was entrepreneurship. I mean, they were just working. I didn't even start using that term until I had been an entrepreneur for like 10, 11 years. It wasn't a focus. The focus for me was, I want to serve community. I want to be able to create jobs. I want to be able to help others create structure. And so, what can I do in order to be able to fulfill that? And I remember when this buzz started going around, entrepreneur, and people started sort of, oh, you've been an entrepreneur for 11 years. I was like, oh, I have. Like, I'm just working. Like, it's not. And so when people say, well, how do you do it? I'm like, just like you make a choice, anybody make a choice to do whatever. You go to work every day, 9 to 5. It's no different. You still have to have structure. You got to get up. You got to create something. You got to use your mind. You got to use, hopefully, all of your skills. And hopefully it's something that you love. And then if not, you move into something else. That's the same thing. Like, when people trip about entrepreneurs doing stuff different, I'm like, well, you've been on the same job forever. Like, most people haven't. Most people haven't. And so that's my entrepreneurial journey. It's been taking the lessons and the challenges and turning them into something that I can do to help serve others, which hopefully will then in turn serve me by bringing in money and wellness. Yeah.
Right.
So
I like the way that sounds. So check this out. So you started this entrepreneurial journey at the age of 8. And I hear a lot of people oftentimes say, non-entrepreneurs, I hear a lot of them say all the time is, hey, Ken, I'm not meant to be an entrepreneur like you are, or, my situation is totally different. Do you feel like because you started at such an early age that you have an advantage over anybody else as it pertains to this entrepreneurship stuff, or is it a matter of making a decision and making things happen?
yeah, no, I don't think I do. I mean, I wanted to be an entrepreneur at 8. I didn't actually do it until I babysat. I don't know if that's considered entrepreneur, but I did that, very early. But I actually would say, when I talk about being an entrepreneur, I usually say about 21 years, because I would say around 2000 is when I really began. And no, I believe that there is an entrepreneurial mindset. So there is a need for personal development, professional development, definitely financial development, but that's really not different from anybody else. Like, the thing about being an entrepreneur, back to what you asked, is it's a choice. It's a choice to say, hey, I'm going to take my gifts, my skills, my talents, and try to create and not try, but create that into something that could bring in finances for me and my family. And so, yeah, I believe there is a mindset to it, but I do believe that anybody can be an entrepreneur. It could be big or small. Like, everybody doesn't have to make $1 million a year, or 100,000. Everybody doesn't even have to be a six-figure income earner to be an entrepreneur. You could be an entrepreneur that makes $40,000 a year, or whatever it is. It's just a choice.
Okay. Good. Thanks for sharing that. So let's go back to connection and collaboration for just a moment. And I want to talk about when did you realize that the stories that your mom had helped you with and the things that you glean from other communities about entrepreneurship, to bridge a gap with the struggling entrepreneurs, when did you actually realize that you had the sauce?
It's an everyday thing. Like, to be honest, um, I challenge myself more and more every day. I don't know that I know that the sauce is those things that I know that I have to partner with. I have collaboration. I have connection. I have, my affiliates, my associates. I have a good support system. I have God. I have family. So I think as a result of those things, I feel like I have the sauce. But it's a daily journey. Um, and it's not one that I want to do alone at all. So I think for me, the sauce
Hold up. What
is
you mean alone? Alone in what capacity? Hold up now. Is we plugging, or what kind of alone we talking about?
alone in the sense of I like having partners and collaboration and all of that.
Okay.
Am I plugging what, Ken?
I'm just saying, I didn't know like what type of alone you was talking about, but either way, it's still a lot of
Anyway,
ambiguity right there. It could be however they want to take it. You know what I'm just saying? Like,
no plugs. No plugs, but I don't want to be alone in any way.
thank you. Thank you for saying it. Thank you. All right, we can continue.
But I want to go back a second to what you're talking about when it comes to entrepreneurship. I want to finalize that by saying everybody is not going to make that choice, though.
Yeah.
And so if somebody wants to work a 9 to 5, some people don't want to work at all. They just want to be, house husbands, housewives. That's fine if that works, for them. So everybody's not going to choose entrepreneurship. But if you choose it, just like with anything else, you have the capability to do it.
100%. 100%. Thanks
Yeah.
for that clarity. All right, let's get on with the show right here. All right, things. So fam, when I think about one of the things that I am learning about life, business, and even storytelling in general, is that there are several misconceptions of communications and communicating ideas. Okay. Some of them are like assuming that communication is a one-way street. All right. Another miscommunication is believing that communication is always clear and unambiguous. We just had a moment right there where we needed to clear up, right? A moment of ambiguity. Okay. Another thing, another miscommunication of a misconception is thinking that communication is only verbal, come through nonverbal communication, right? Another one is assuming that everyone communicates the same way. It's a lot of misconceptions out here, fam. All right. Believing that your communication is always effective. I'm sure I'm the only one who ever thought this in life, right? And the last one is thinking that communication is always necessary. So if anybody out there in La La Land have ever been guilty of any of this stinking thinking, put me in the chat right now. Put me in the chat right now if you are guilty of some of this stinking thinking. Matter of fact, if it ain't you and you know somebody who is guilty of this stinking thinking, put them in the chat. Hashtag them, not the person. Don't tag them, right? But just put hashtag them in the comments or in the chat. Okay. So Kimberly, when it comes down to misconceptions of communication, what is it? What do you do versus what people think you do?
What do you do versus what people think you do?
Yeah.
Misconception. So, okay. Misconceptions and miscommunication are just going to happen because we're all individuals with all different experiences. So the significant thing here more so is to understand that you are not them and they are not you. And so while common sense is seemingly common, we have to give people grace and understand that what is common to you may not be common to them. And then begin to understand that if you want to be a kind person, you want to be a nice person, you want to be well received, then you have to get beyond yourself and realize the opportunity that you have to serve others. So that's my answer about misconception and miscommunication. A lot of times misconception, especially around body language, is based on how you might respond, or even in a statement, it's based on you. So a lot of times, for instance, when somebody's sending an email or text, right? You're reading it in your own voice. So on many instances, you got to check yourself more so than, go after that person. You got to check yourself. I've had this conversation with people, which is why now, Lord, in emails, I didn't used to send a whole bunch of emojis and, all of that stuff. But now I find that that's necessary. But in email communication, I am not a person that usually sends like emojis and all of those things. But because of the opportunity that has shifted as a result of technology and certain things being available, just like even on Zoom, now you got reactions and all of these different things because people realize, oh, if they don't do it now, even though it was not available before, there's going to be an issue. Kind of like the love like on Facebook. Like if you could love it, why you just like it? Now it's a problem, right? But that's your own problem to work out. Liking it used to be the only option. So that being said, we have to just be aware common sense is not common. And that's not a slight to anyone. That's an opportunity to understand and have grace for folks and say, you know what, let me take a moment and explain this. Let me take a moment and step back so that I can be clear. Man, so many relationships would thrive if we just took a moment to have some, be kind, have some grace when it comes to people. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. I'm gonna refine it a little bit, right? So check this out. When you let's put a spotlight on Beauty 180 right now, the nonprofit.
Okay.
Right. When it comes down to the services that you provide for women, what is it that you do versus what people think you do, or what people think Beauty 180 is?
Okay. So Beauty 180, people think that it is a youth organization. Right. But Beauty 180 is actually a nonprofit that supports women and women who are victims of domestic violence, women who are coming out of prison, or women who are disenfranchised in any capacity, such as, well, I won't say any capacity, homelessness or coming out of traumatic situations in which they need to start over. So our programs focus on taking them 90 days at a time, no longer than 6 months, which is 180, in order to help them to move forward and propel forward. The reason why we do youth events is because the family as a whole is affected when the woman is affected. So if she has children, then we want to also work with the children and the family, but we want to develop young girls, which is why we do the etiquette, the beauty, the confidence, and all of that, so that young girls, and this is no blame or anything for anybody, everybody that I've spoken with has said that this is true. If we were able to get different knowledge and opportunities, sometimes many of us would not make the same mistakes, right? And so that's what Beauty 180 does for the youth. We provide the girls etiquette coaching, beauty, confidence training. We partner with other organizations to be able to do like those sort of workshops. And I put in entrepreneurship, just creativity, on financial literacy, to develop young girls that will be an asset to themselves as well as the community. So yes, that's what I do versus now. Okay, that makes sense. What I do versus what people think I do in Beauty
No
180.
doubt. So it's all about communication, right? And I'm gonna
Yeah.
piggyback on this a little bit, right? So it's a lot of parts to communication, and I like using the analogy that sometimes men, we talk in a blue microphone and women hear in pink headphones, right? So that's, this is a little play on words that we have oftentimes between, communication between men and women. However, I asked you a question and you interpreted it a different way.
Right.
Like it was nothing wrong with the question that I asked you, and it was nothing wrong with the way you interpreted it, right? But easily right there could have been a huge miscommunication that could have led to some type of blow up in a relationship or in a business partnership or, in any other area of life. All right. So with that being said, this is off the script too. Whose responsibility, this is about communication, because I've seen that in your bio. Whose responsibility is it to ask for clarity? Was it my responsibility in that moment to ask you the question and, hey, say, Kimberly, do you understand what I'm saying? Or is it your responsibility to be like, hey, Ken, can I get clarity? Even though you didn't believe you need clarity. Whose responsibility is that to ask for clarity?
Well, so in that particular instance, I would say it was probably my responsibility. It was my responsibility to ask for clarity. Even though I felt like I understood the question, I think that it, just to be clear, and this is what I do oftentimes because I need to seek clarity in many situations. So I'll say, so just to be clear, for some people, they don't like that. They do not like for you to do that. But I'll say just to be clear so I can make sure I'm understanding, and I'll repeat it. And so generally, yes, I would say the person who does not understand should ask the person to clarify what they're asking, just to keep the lines of communication open and make sure you're on the same page.
Bet. Appreciate you sharing that from a communication tip. I need to use that one day because it comes up a lot. All right, so let's talk about collaborations, right? Connections and collaborations. When you think about connections and collaboration, what is it that you do with connections and collaboration versus what people think you do with connections and collaborations?
Oh, okay. So with connection and collaboration, I'm going to answer the what people think I do part first. So people think that I do social media strategy. People think that I am a what do you call those, like referral marketing people, like I'm a person that like just all day, that's my job to just connect people or something. So, but generally people think I do social media strategy, which is a part of public relations, which is a part of communication. But what I really do is my English degree and background concentration is public relations. So what I do is I help entrepreneurs to get their communication, like to help them to create a beautiful public relations opportunity in order that they will build their finances, in order that they will build their business. So in turn, they can have money to continue to grow. So, and I also connect people to resources as a part of the connection and networking. I connect people to resources. I don't do it for pay though. I do it as a part of my membership groups, and I do it as a part of the fact that I just love supporting business owners and community. And so I do that to help people to get the resources that, I've used. I'm loyal to a lot of people, so I'm sending them referrals. So yeah, so that's what I actually do versus what people think I do. I am not a social media strategist. I can do a little bit of social media under the awning of PR whenever I have the time to pick up those contracts, which is not too much lately. But when I do pick those up, that's what I do under the awning of public relations.
No doubt. And I was just distracted by the chats that was coming in. I had a follow-up question.
Okay.
But I'm going to pass it for right now.
Okay.
Man, I should have wrote it down. All right. So, well, let's keep going. Here it is.
Okay.
you talked about the love, right? You love doing what you're doing, in all of the different aspects that you do it in. But why do you believe it's important to do this for the audience that you serve?
Mm-hmm. So the audience that I serve is generally women, single women who are trying to just come up, trying to have a future, trying to figure things out. And a lot of times, especially in many predominantly, BIPOC minority communities, those lessons haven't been taught at the kitchen table. They haven't been taught in the classrooms, obviously. And so being able to provide financial literacy for that community is going to help them to create the long-term vision, to actually see it, to then be able to create opportunity for generational wealth, which then in turn serves the family as a whole. And so that's why I do what I do. I really focus on how can I be a person that helps one person, if at all, just that one person is enough for me. And then that person will be able to transfer that knowledge that I gave them, or the wisdom that I gathered that I can give them, and share it with someone else, and so forth and so on. So that's why I do what I do and why I serve the community that I serve, because I do want to see more women empowered in the area of finance, more women confident and able to make wise decisions that will support, like I said, their long-term vision and ultimately as well community.
Okay. All right. Thanks for sharing that. So tell me a story of a time where you communicated an idea in all the wrong ways.
Man, yesterday? I don't know. No, I mean, like, it depends on if it's business or if it's like personal.
Give me one, either one. Give me both.
So sometimes, like, you can have an idea like I might have an idea to go out on do a picnic or something, and I don't relate it. Like it could be a rainy day that day, and I'm talking about going to do a picnic. Well, I probably should have given more of the details, like, hey, the next sunny day, let's go on. No, this didn't happen. You said give me one, so I'm giving you a hypothetical. But the next day, because I love picnics, right? And I want to go on one. So the next the next sunny day when it's not too hot, let's get a basket together and let's go on a picnic, as opposed to, hey, I want to go on a picnic. And the person is like, well, it's raining. So that's an idea that is an epic fail because I didn't put all of the pieces in place to share the full story. So
I'm gonna let you slide on that one.
Get away with that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you slide on that one.
Trying to get away with that one.
Because so one of the good things about storytelling is, like, although you say it really didn't happen, it could have, but like I think you could have. It's an idea in your head. It could have passed as a story. You know what I mean? If you wouldn't have said this really didn't happen, I would have believed it. Like, okay, because it's. Yeah, I would have believed it, right? Because it's just something that I really want to do. I ain't thinking about nothing else. It's just like, listen, I want to go on a picnic. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna let you slide on that one, all right? Let's keep talking more about misconceptions of communication. Who do you believe needs a course or some type of direction on communication, but they don't even know it yet?
Everybody.
Ooh.
Honestly, I really do feel like even communication experts need a course in communication because our modalities are changing so often, right? And you have people that are exposed, like I was talking about earlier, people that are exposed to more communication tools than others. And so you're going to butt heads, because somebody is used to, for instance, the WYD or the HYD or the HRU, in texting now. You could text somebody who's never ever seen that before. But that is a communication tool just to get out that question really quickly, to check in with somebody. But if they don't understand it, that's just like somebody speaking, one language versus another, speaking, Swahili versus Spanish. Like if they've never experienced it before, never seen it, never heard it, never learned it, it's just going to be dissonant. It's just going to be, a mess. So I believe that everybody could consistently stand to re-up on their courses around communication. Body language is something else. Like so many people are used to their way of responding to something, oh, that's something that I've had to do. I've had to watch my faces because I think a lot. And so I may offend you because I'm thinking while you're talking, but you could have said something brilliant that I'm like, oh, that was good. But my face, see that, ooh, is like, you might think, well, what I say, that she doesn't like, but I'm over here like, oh, that was good, And so I've had to work on my faces. So that is another way that, taking a class and things like that, of course, helped me to realize how significant that is in a room of strangers or people who never met you before, or somebody speaking and you're right in the front row or what have you. Like, be aware of your faces. So I would say everybody can.
I love it. All right, here we go. In this next segment, we like to learn how our guests use stories every day in their line of work. All right. This portion is very critical for entrepreneurs, influencers, and even nonprofit heroes who struggle to find the thrill in your story. When I coach my clients, I like to teach them to use stories in a variety of ways. For instance, sharing experiences with others. We talked about that earlier, right? Teaching lessons come through church, right? Entertainment, like comedy, you know what I'm saying? They tell stories, right? Building relationships, persuasion, and even building empathy so that we can develop a better understanding of somebody's perspectives or feelings. Stories are an important part of human communication, and they can be used in a whole lot of ways to convey information, emotions, and of course, ideas, right? So Kimberly, back to you, right? What is the most powerful or memorable or even impactful story that resides in your brain today?
Most powerful, impactful. I have so many stories that I don't even know that are impactful, but when I share them, they are. So I am going to share a story just that impacted me then. And maybe it'll impact others.
That's fair.
But um as a little girl, um well, let's start it as an adult. As an adult, no, I'm gonna tell a story about myself. I'm gonna tell a story about myself. So as an adult, I remember having this love of supporting women. I didn't necessarily want to hang around a lot of women, because I had a lot of guy friends too. But I love supporting women. I love being in the back end, helping women to, push them or whatever, but just like the kitchen help. And I love supporting nonprofits that work with women who were victims of domestic violence or survivors. And I didn't know why. I didn't understand why, but it was such a passion. I would be up late trying to organize stuff. I would volunteer. I started, instead of taking my clothes to Goodwill, I would take them to these nonprofits. All of the early events that I did would raise money. I called them purple parties and so forth, would raise money for domestic violence, victims of domestic violence. And one day I was like, Lord, why is this? Why am I so passionate about helping women who are victims of domestic violence? Like, why am I so invested? And I realized that I asked him to bring it back to me. Like, I was like, am I repressing something? Like, what's going on? And so I asked him to bring it back to me. And, after some time, I began to have memories of my childhood, memories of hearing abuse, memories of maybe even seeing it. Those memories haven't coming back, but feeling it. I had memories of feeling abuse, being on the other side of the door and wondering if the person who I love was going to come out okay. Was I going to be safe? Was my brother going to be safe? And I remember having that moment that I said, now it all makes sense. And that actually is what propelled me to start Beauty 180. It's what propelled me to start working with the ladies that I work with in the capacity that I work with them. It propelled me to be able to have a heart to understand people in a different way, and to get beyond my own comfort sometimes, to just listen or whatever. And this is not a big up to me at all. This is about why I do what I do. It's the story. It's the little girl on the other side of the door who heard maybe a little bit too much, but changed that into what I do today. Change that into ministry and into service. So that's my story that I'm sharing today.
Wow. Cue the music. Like, all we needed was a track behind that, and it was going to be a done deal. Wow. No, thanks for sharing it. Every time I hear it, what I'm saying, it's powerful. And I'm grateful for the work that you're doing. And I'm pretty sure that the people you serve are grateful for it too. You know what I mean?
I hope so.
So,
Like it's about, I don't know, Ken. I know this is cheesy, but I don't even want accolades and credit. Like I want my tribe to know I love them. But I think it's the whenever I get like credit, I don't know, I'll work on that. But whenever I get credit, it makes me feel like it's about me, and I really work hard to overcome the about me so that I can serve. Because, like I said, I like being in the kitchen, I like being behind the scenes, but that wasn't what I was called to do. So anyway, thank you for saying that.
yeah,
I'm gonna shut up.
it takes some time. No, because I get what you're saying, right? Like, because it's really not about us. I would much rather see the change, right? That we preach about every day. So no, I totally get
Yeah.
it. Kimberly Shaw said, thanks for sharing. Rhonda Cozart said, we love you too. So definitely appreciate y'all for joining. Jada Wayne, thanks for joining us. Pastor Lamont Cooper, thank you. Jocelyn, man, listen, appreciate y'all for rocking with us tonight or today, depending on whatever time you looking at this in the world today. So let's keep going, right? So when you think about connections and collaborations, now, you know what, let's shift gears, right? Let's
Okay.
talk about your spirituality. Let's talk about God here, all right?
Okay.
How do you use stories in your everyday work when it pertains to ministry?
So it's that's the reason why I'm able to even share that last story. It's the knowing that it's not about me, and that the testimony is the thing that people need in order to understand that we are connected, and that things are possible. They are able to win because they are born to win. And so I think that stories really are the tool to do that, like to bridge the gaps that we all think keep us apart, but actually bring us together. The more that I sit and talk with you, or sit and talk with Rondo, or Cooper, or whoever, Jocelyn, or other friends, I get to learn more about that person and figure out how we're connected. And so that's how I use it when I'm talking about God. I'm able to sort of the scripture in Matthew 5:16 tells us to let our light shine before men, but so that people they can see my good works, but glorify our Father who is in heaven. And so my story shines a light on God. Shines a light on Christ so that people can, yeah, they can see my work and they can say, oh, that's great work, but it glorifies my Father in heaven. So that's what, to me, that's what stories do. It opens that portal to the light of God, and less about me.
That's what's up. Thanks for sharing. One of the things that, and it's probably the last question that I have for right
Mm-hmm.
now. One of the things that I noticed, and I thought it was me, just me and me only. Like if you ever passed an accident on the other side of the highway,
Yeah.
why is it that our lane be doggone backed up and no, it ain't no accident on our side? You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
one day it just dawned on me as I was putting a story together in my head of what had happened from this accident. So I was
Mm-hmm.
driving, and you may see, a car that's turned a 180, so it's facing traffic on the other side of the highway, and then you see another car that's kind of flipped over on its head, and then
Yeah.
you see a bumper here, you see skid marks over there, then you see, just random things. It's like, how in the world did this happen? And one day I realized that it's a story that's it's in front of me, and I'm actually trying to put it together.
Absolutely.
And I think everybody else who's in front of me holding up traffic is really trying to do the same thing as well.
Yeah.
So with that being said, on average, how many stories do you believe you create in your mind daily?
Thousands.
Whoa.
Yeah. Because so I'm a thinker. I think a lot. I try to put a lot of pieces together. And this is why emotional and personal development is so key. And I think spiritual development, because we can put a lot of negative stories in our heads based on experience, based on so many things. But then we change those to positive. So that's, I mean, thousands might be an exaggeration, but I have so many stories that pop up in my mind throughout the day, all day, every day. And so it's about honing in to the positivity within those. And, I mean, like some stories are just ridiculous. Like, you ever like about to walk down the stairs, or your kid about to walk down the stairs, and you make up a story that they could tumble down the stairs. Like, why? Like, why do we do that? Right. And so I have to then turn it around to another story. So a lot of my stories that are turned into thousands that maybe, like I said, a slight exaggeration, is changing the story of the negative story into a positive story, so that, I'm actually, I'm trying to, manifest great things and not think of bad things. So yeah, but I'm a creative person too, and so I'm consistently creating, but also analyzing. I'm always analyzing and project managing. So I tend to think of a lot of stories throughout the day. So I don't know, thousands was an exaggeration, but definitely a lot,
Hundreds.
a lot.
Yeah, we could definitely go with that hundreds. Because I'm with you. Like, we got to be mindful of what we think and what we say. Of
Yeah,
course, I've been writing my book forever, 5 Links to Resilience, how to bounce back from any mistake you've made in life. But we literally talk about how your thoughts and your feelings dictate your words. You know what
yeah,
I mean? And your words dictate your actions. Your actions dictate your habits, and your habits, your
yeah.
lifestyle. And it all comes from what you're thinking and what you're feeling.
Yeah.
Right? So if you allow a negative thought to manifest, it's going to come out your mouth. And if it come out
Mm-hmm.
your mouth, it's going to become a habit. If it becomes a
Mm-hmm.
habit, it's going to end up becoming your lifestyle. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we definitely have to like kill those thoughts immediately, like, when they come out, so they won't
Mm-hmm.
manifest. But thank you for sharing that. Perfect. Listen, so Keisha Couser said past experiences are leading the narrative of the story. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Whether good or bad. You know what I'm saying? And maybe Portia Green said this is good and accurate. Thank you. Rhonda said so true. Listen, appreciate y'all feedback and thanks for joining us tonight. I think we out of time, fam. We out of time, and this has been my pleasure to talk to you again, to interview you, to hear your story more. Do you have any closing thoughts for the people?
For the people. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, it was all about the born to win. And so I just encourage folks to, walk into their greatness, one of the things that we forget is, for those who don't know, I'll tell you today for the first time, you're created in the image of God. And so that's amazing, right? And so for those who knew but forgot, that's a powerful thing to actually manifest, to walk in. I am created in the image of God. I am made as a whole great human being. So walk into that. And if you have people that you're aligned with that aren't feeding you that good, then you need to get away from those people, because now it's time for you to walk into the next, right? Because so many of us are bound. But if you want to be free, it's possible. So I just want to remind folks that, yeah, you're born to win because you are created from a winner. And that's that.
Ooh, I love it. Sit tight backstage as I close out the show. Okay. Thanks, Kimberly.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate you. So great.
All right, fam. So listen, another great experience, another great conversation. We love the stories. If this show has made an impact in your life or your business in any way, make sure you like this broadcast and subscribe to my channel. If you are watching the replay, make sure you put hashtag replay in the comments, because it helps with the analytics some way, somehow. I don't know. Just do it if you will. And as always, thank you for tuning in to another episode of What's the Story? I'm your host, Ken Branson, from the basement to the balcony, where I believe it's only one way in and one way out. Peace.